welcome to Rabble Rouser Media, and this is Mike Rabble. Just want to kind of get back in the motion of things with my fancy dancy setup you see behind me. I've put a decent amount of time and effort even getting this stuff done. It's not the fanciest. You know what? I'm just a regular kind of a guy, but I have worked hard at trying to get this set up so that way I can make this look a little bit more professional for you guys. So that way it's something that's a little bit more clean and kind of a little bit more, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but a little bit more orderly, a little bit, it has a little bit better construction to it, whatever. But anyway, welcome to the show. I am going to be trying to impart some information on you today. But I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, I know some of you know me, some of you maybe don't know me. So for the people that don't know me or haven't met me haven't seen me for many, many years or whatever, how long it's been, I'm doing all right. I can't complain. You know what? I got a beautiful family and a lovely wife. I'm doing pretty well for myself. I really just can't complain. All right. So, and I know a lot of you are probably like, why in the hell should I listen to this guy? Why the hell listen to this idiot? Well, for one thing, at least I'm honest. I'm an honest idiot. All right. We can all see with CNN and MSNBC and how these news outlets are just pushing propaganda left and right, and how it's getting to the point where it's just blatantly obvious, where it's just, and it really is getting hard for people to just tell what information is correct and what is just, opinion and what is just propaganda. What was fake news yesterday is now truth. Like look at the Hunter Biden story. A year ago, or year and a half, 2 years ago, when it came out before the election, it was completely suppressed by the media. And look at it now. It's the laptop's real, the diary's real, But whatever. We're not going to get into that kind of stuff today. All right. I'm gonna try to, explain to you. It's like, why does my opinion matter? Why do I think it matters? In the grand scheme of thing, I guess my opinion really doesn't. I'm just some guy staring at a camera, trying to just complain into it, really, about the world and how it's going and how it's basically going to, how it's just collapsing all around us. All right. So a little background on myself. All right. I think that'd be a good start for a lot of the people that don't know me or maybe haven't seen me in a long time. All right. So obviously I came from very humble beginnings. My family moved around a lot when I was a kid. There was times when I was younger, my parents divorced and my father had medical conditions, and at times we were so bad off that we had to go through garbage cans to get food, in the 80s and 90s, just really, my father really struggled to provide for us, and with my parents splitting up and moving to different states eventually, it made it really hard for our family unit to stay together and stay in touch. Fast forwarding to my high school years, all right? So when I was in my younger years, I was in a very diverse, very community in San Antonio, and I grew up around there, and that was the years that I was having to go through trash cans with my father and my brother to get food, and having to eat split pea soup for, it felt like a darn near a month, getting so sick of it. I still to this day don't want to smell, see, or ever have split pea soup touch my lips. But anyway, so after I was like 15, I spent about 8 to 10 years in Texas, and then I was around 14 when I came back up to Indiana to live with my mom. And I was just your typical American kid, who lived with his mother, and who was a single mother at the time, so who had a very hard time raising me. And yeah, I was spoiled. You know what? But one of the best things that I ever did was join the Marine Corps, and I love all my brothers and sisters that I served with. I would not sit there and say that I'm like some sort of Billy badass or anything like that, because I'm pretty sure there's guys on here that would just call me out right there. I was just your average kid I was fat. I got in there, and I got into shape, and it helped me out with that. But partly because of my upbringing, it took me a while to get locked on as far as what was the right way to go about things, and because I didn't have that strong family structure growing up, and probably the fact that my mother kind of coddled me, it took me a while to get locked on to a point where I felt that I was comfortable doing what I was doing in the Marine Corps, But you know what? It's still one of the best things that I ever did. I'm proud to have served my country. I love my country and the Constitution, and just the amount of things I was able to experience while I was in the Marine Corps are absolutely invaluable, and I cherish it very much to this day. So I was in from 2000 to 2004. I really don't think I need to give a history lesson as far as what happened with all of that. I did not serve in any sort of like combat role other than maybe Haiti back in 2004, right before I got out. I trained for it. I was willing to do it. I was amped up. I was like, all right, let's do this. But I did not go into Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff like that. I was attached to a MEU, and we ended up floating around the Gulf for a little bit, and just kind of like just out there bobbing in the ocean, and waiting for something to happen. There were people in my platoon. We were actually going to be sent into northern Mosul. I was actually getting ready to have my vehicle go ahead and get loaded onto the plane, and they stopped all movement and said there were supply shortages. We ended up staying in Crete for like 2 weeks, maybe more, loading supplies to get it over to Iraq. And then we went back to ship. And another 2 weeks later, the rest of our platoon, the scouts that were attached to our platoon, came back. All right. So following the Marine Corps, all right, well, I really can't talk about this part of my life right now. And I really hope that you guys understand, because where I work has a very strong social media policy. I am not allowed to discuss my job, what I do, and and for good reason. There's a lot of guys that that say a lot of dumb things. Right? Simple as that. I understand why they have that policy. They encourage us to use social media. They encourage us to, be a part of it, but they don't want us to identify ourselves as what we do. And and I agree with the social media policy. So unfortunately, maybe, hey, you know what? If you guys get me to 1 million subs, all right, against my better, instincts and my better intuitions, maybe I'll go ahead and, and maybe give a hint, or maybe I'll just, if I got 1 million subs and I'm doing fairly well, you know what? Maybe I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and just say it. All right. But at this point in time, I really can't say what I do. But there are certain things I can't talk about. Let's just say that I've always liked helping people. I always liked serving, my country and the community. I've always liked helping people. That's about as far as I can go. So with as a side hustle, I was a mortgage banker for a couple years. I So I was a mortgage banker, and I worked with my brother, who helped guide me into the field. I just wanted to see if I, wanted to try it out, and and I thought that I had a heart condition which would keep me from doing my job, and I was freaking out. I was just literally like freaking out. I was stressed to the max because I thought that I would not be able to support my family. So I had to figure out a way, like, what am I going to do if I can't do a physical job, So my brother was a mortgage banker, and he said, why don't you come work with me? And he took me under his wing. He kind of showed me the ropes, brought me into the industry, and I learned so much. And I'm very thankful for that experience because it really helped open my eyes to what had gone on in 2008 as far as what caused the mortgage crisis. And with my job, because of the economy and why, I was possibly looking at layoffs and stuff like that because of the economy. And I'm trying to start a family. I just got married, and I'm trying to figure out, like, why? Like, how come this stuff is affecting my life so much? I guess I'm like right on that cusp where I'm a millennial, I guess. I didn't really grow up with, the other. My brothers were always older, so I always had those older influences. I don't know if that's why I'm different, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just another millennial. Who knows? But so with everything that was going on with the economy and how everything just crashed, I really tried to dig in deep and try to figure out why all this stuff happened. And the experience of being a mortgage banker, definitely helped open my eyes as far as economics and why a lot of this stuff kind of happens. And I'm going to kind of go through some of this as far as very, very briefly. I know that a lot of people, when you sit there and we're going to talk about money and economics, that you get that glazed over look in their face. It's kind of like when you talk like politics and all the stuff that, you're really not supposed to talk about. All right. I think it's important. I think it's extremely important to talk about this kind of stuff. But as people that lived in civilized society, we had to learn how to talk to each other about sensitive subjects without wearing our emotions on our sleeve. It's an extremely difficult thing to do when you're talking about politics, religion, and stuff like that, because people base their entire lives and identities, on these things, the realities on these things. So, but in order for us to grow together and stay together as a country and a society, I think it's important that we need to talk about these kind of things, because if we don't, we're not going to be in a good place. We're just not. If you look at the state of the country that we're in now, unless we can reach out and find common ground with our brothers and sisters that are, on a different side of the aisle, whatever it is, left, right, center, I don't know, I don't care. But whatever it is, we have to be able to reach out to try to, to convince them of what we believe and why we believe it. All right? Simple as that. We just have to have these conversations. All right? So I'll try to make this part go by as quick as possible. So that way, you're not just going to like, all right, well, thumbs down. All right, I'm gone. I'm going to unsubscribe. What I really want is to make this as interesting as possible, and for you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I want you to share this with your friends and family, so that way, maybe we can get the word out. All right. And you can see here, it's like I'm not some millionaire, in a multi-million-dollar studio. That's why I'm Mike Rabel, all right? I'm just like your everyday person, everyday man who has a wife and a family to support. And I work my butt off in order to do this. And I've been subjugated and, have been, pushed into this little corner in my basement, and come on, I think most guys know how that is. It's like, hey, I have a room for an office, and well, shoot, I had a garage, and well, now the wife's car goes in the garage, and I've got to give the office to the kids, and well, shoot, now I'm down in the basement. Now the heck did this happen? But that's just how things go. This is part of life. And I respect that. And I think most of you guys respect that kind of stuff too, because you're just, a lot of you are just like me that are just trying to, put food on the table, take care of your family, and try to make the world at least the world that you think that you have control of. You're just trying to do what you can to make your life and your children's life better. But we have some serious stuff going on in our country that, we've got to start speaking up so that way we can start making things better. All right. But let me go ahead and just start getting into some of this. All right. I was having a conversation with a friend, my friend named Tim, and super great guy, super smart guy. He carpenter, build anything, beautiful family. I was a guy that I would consider, fairly successful, and, we're having this conversation, and, he's starting to talk about like economics and stuff like that. And me just knowing that people, generally it's a boring subject. A lot of people just don't know about this kind of stuff. But given my background, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. All right. First, before you start trying to educate me on economics, you tell me what backs the U.S. dollar. And without skipping a beat, it was like gold. and this isn't I've asked this to many, many people, and having these conversations, and I've had many people that I felt that I know are educated people, and they'll look at me in the face, and without skipping a beat, and be like gold. All right. And then when I'm sitting there trying to have these conversations, and I'm trying not to come off as just, of course I'm getting all excited, and and we're going back and forth and getting all loud, and my wife's like, "Mike, quit arguing," sitting there yelling and nagging at me, but for good reason, because I tend to get a little overzealous with some things, which I'm working on. All right, I'm working on it. All right, everybody has their thing to work on. All right. So, without skipping a beat, he's like, gold. All right, and you're wrong. He's like, no, I'm not. He's like, gold backs the United States dollar. And I'm just kind of like, no, it doesn't. All right. So, a lot of this goes out to you, Tim. I hope that you see this. All right, I have a lot of great respect for you, and hopefully you get a chance to see this, and you can kind of like, and hopefully I can impart a little bit of knowledge on you and everybody else who listens to this, and hopefully learn something. And so that way, because if you're going to try to understand geopolitical politics, all right, you have to understand the money, all right? Any famous movie, anything like that, anytime you're going to be doing any sort of investigation, what do? You follow the money, all right? Got to follow the money. All right, so here we go. We're going to follow the money. All right, so we're going to look at I really don't like to use Wikipedia because a lot of people don't understand that you can go in there and edit these things. You can edit it, I can edit it. You know, there's certain things that they have the ability to lock, but for the most part, you know, people can go in there and edit it. So I love it when people, and I do it too sometimes, like I'm doing it now, all right, and this is a good example to why this isn't exactly correct, all right, why Wikipedia is not, you know, the end all be all, and people are using an argument like boom, look at that, gotcha, Wikipedia, you know, like dude, I could have made that yesterday, you know, or you could have made that yesterday, all right, but either way, so money is there's a difference between money and there's currency, all right. Currency is what we have now in the United States. It's a medium of exchange. You know, money is a store of value. All right, that's the long and the short of it. All right, currency is like your check. You know, a dollar bill is nothing more than a check from the Federal Reserve. All right. I'm not going to sit here and bore you with the entire lesson. You know, there's a gentleman. His name is Mike Maloney. This guy right here. He does this. He has this YouTube. He has his own YouTube channel. He has a 10-part series of as far as, you know, what money is, what a currency is, and why what we have right now is a fiat currency. So, and he also explains why all fiat currencies fail. You know, these are amazing things to know and understand if you're going to have an actual grasp of what's going on in the world today. All right, because we had, let's see here. Oh, so let me just go on to this. All right. So I gotta get a drink of water real quick. Or Crystal Light, whatever. But anyway, so in 1913 we had the Federal Reserve Act. All right. Excuse me. So in 1913 we had the Federal Reserve Act. All right. This is a central bank that was established. All right. So that way we can. So if you read it here, the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 established the Federal Reserve System as a central bank of the United States to provide the nation with a safer, more flexible, and more stable monetary and financial system. The law sets out the purpose, structure, and functions of the system, as well as outlines aspects of its operation and accountability. Congress has the power to amend the Federal Reserve Act, which it has done several times over the years. The complete act, as amended, is provided here by section. All right. So the first thing that you have to understand about the Federal Reserve is that just because they slapped something on there that said federal on it, all right, you know, there is absolutely nothing federal. You might as well just take this right there and just delete that. All right. When it comes to the Federal Reserve, all right, the Federal Reserve, there is nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. All right. It is a group of private banks that run it. All right. And if you guys understand history, this getting away from a central bank is part of one of the reasons why a lot of people came to the New World in the first place. All right. And we struggled with trying to make currencies and, you know, deal with, you know, a monetary system. All right. And to a certain aspect, I mean, there were issues with the supply of money, which being gold. Gold is true money. All right. It wasn't flexible enough because there was a limited quantity of it. That's what makes gold valuable, because there's a limited quantity of it. All right. That's why it's a good store of value. All right. So there was a problem. So it's like when you have sailors and stuff to pay, and then, you know, you're supposed to be paying them in gold and silver, and you run out of gold and silver because your money supply isn't very flexible. That made there were some real issues with that. All right. There were some very, very real issues with that. All right. So when they did that, I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing. All right. I just think that it was bad that what happened later to that system and what our government has been doing for the last, I don't know, maybe 100 years that has basically perverted, the way our country was supposed to be ran, and has perverted, how our system was supposed to be working, because now we're seeing the consequences of it, right? We are absolutely 100% seeing the consequences of what has been laid down. And people think like, oh, it's Bush's fault, or it's Obama's fault, or it's Biden's fault, or it's Trump's fault. People want to sit there and play the blame game, but they don't realize that it's all of them. It's every single one of them. They all contributed. All these politicians, they all contributed to it. They're all to blame. And that's part of what we're seeing now. But we'll get in that to another episode. All right. So, the Federal Reserve Act. All right. So here's another important thing. All right. In 1933, Executive Order 6102, all right, 6102, had made it a criminal offense for U.S. citizens to own or trade gold anywhere in the world, with the exceptions of some jewelry and collector's coins. A very good coin to own is the African Kugran. That's it was like I want to say it was like 95% gold, and I think like 10% copper. I'm probably wrong on those ratios, but or whatever. But there was just enough copper in there, so it was legal to own, and you can still kind of do business with it or collect it, whatever. All right, and gold was not made legal until I want to say 1977 to own again. All right, so what happened was they basically got all the gold, all right, and they bought it from everybody for $25. And then when they felt that they had a majority of the gold, that because it was their patriotic duty to turn their gold in, all right, as soon as they got that gold, all right, they bought it for $25. They immediately upped the price to $35. All right, so they used that inflation. So they basically just created more money in the money supply. They made it flexible. They gave themselves more money so that way they can spend on defense and infrastructure and stuff like that. All right. And I think everybody understands what happened in these time eras as far as, world wars and all this other kind of stuff. We came out of, World War One that had ended, and this is the period between World War One and World War Two, and you had the rise of Hitler and all, in this time period, and going back to what Biden said. All right, this is what Biden was talking about, the New World Order. All right. When you're sitting here talking about the New World Order, I think most people would want to sit there and say, "Okay, buddy, get your tinfoil hat on. Go ahead. Where's Alex Jones? Is he gonna pop out and talk about the Illuminati? And is he gonna some other goofball gonna come up? I don't know who the heck you want to sit there and say, but we'll just stick with Alex Jones for now, because the guy's crazy. He's been right about some stuff." But he's definitely over the top and definitely out there. All right. So we had it to where they made it criminal offense to own gold. All right. And then we come here to the creation of the Bretton Woods Agreement. Directly after World War II, all right, they had all these people here. They got together and they said that basically, we're going to go on a dollar standard. This was the New World Order. All right. A new way, a new order of how the world was going to conduct business. All right, that's literally just what it means. All right, a new way for the world to conduct business. At the time, the United States dollar was backed by gold and silver. All right, so it was the most stable currency at the time. So they went ahead and they said, we're gonna so let's say when you're buying from America to China, or America to, or Australia to New Zealand, or Australia to Great Britain, or wherever, all right, or maybe like Australia to Tokyo, all right, having that US dollar was as good as having gold or silver in your pocket, all right. So, and you can say that you can see right here, the system currency convertibility that emerged from Bretton Woods lasted until 1971. What the hell happened in 1971? What? All right, Tim, this one's for you. This one's for you, buddy. I love you, man. All right, this one's for you. All right, in 1971, all right, boom, on the 15th of August, 1971, the United States terminated the convertibility of the U.S. dollar to gold, effectively bringing the Bretton Woods system to an end and rendering the dollar a fiat currency. Shortly thereafter, many fixed currencies such as the pound sterling also became free-floating. All right. So a fiat currency is basically a currency that's backed by nothing. It's backed by nothing but faith. Faith in the faith that the American people are going to be true to their word and use and allow other people to pay their debts with it, you know. So what a lot of people don't know is that shortly after this is when, I want to say it was Nixon, he made an agreement with the House of Saudi, and because I want to say that right after this period, you had the OPEC nations who basically refused to sell oil to the United States because of these moves. All right. And you can see, and that's part of what contributed to the stagflation that happened in the 70s going into the 80s. All right. So with, so the Bretton Woods Agreement was ended. All right. The U.S. dollar is a fiat currency, and Nixon makes a deal with the OPEC nations that we will give them protection, because at the time we had just won World War II. Europe was still pretty much in shambles, you know, and we were a heavy producer of many goods and services. All right, and we told these OPEC nations that we will give them protection if they take U.S. dollars for their oil and natural gas. All right. So our dollar, this is where we get the term petrodollar from. All right. So with it being it ended the Bretton Woods Agreement, but still everything still had to be traded in U.S. dollars, because that's just the way it had worked and the way it just was effective. All right. But now it was now is the oil dollar, the petrodollar. All right. So that means a petrodollar means that if China wants to buy oil, Australia wants to buy oil, United Kingdom wants to buy oil, they first have to convert that to U.S. dollars, and then they have to, use U.S. dollars to buy the oil. All right. And let's see here. Yeah, we can get in that another time. So yeah, you got to use that to buy oil. All right. So this is part of the reason why when you seen Trump back in 2018, that reporter that went missing, that was in Saudi Arabia. I forget the gentleman's name, but there was a big media outrage and all this other kind of stuff, and we need to do something about this. And it was basically like, nope, because there's no way in hell that we were gonna piss off the House of Saudi, and to make them mad when we literally depend on them to make sure that they take our U.S. dollars. All right. Oh, that's what I was gonna get at. Part of the reason why the Bretton Woods Agreement ended and we ended that why Nixon ended that was basically Vietnam and Korea. We overspent our money. These other nations felt that we had overspent our money, and we had printed too many dollars, and we didn't have enough gold to back it up. So they sent ships to go get the money, and Nixon was like, "Nah, we're not going to pay it back. We're not going to do that." Sorry for the going out of sequence there and the back fill there, but that's basically the situation. All right. So, because of the petrodollar, all right, that's a major part of the reason why we have gotten into a lot of these proxy wars. All right. Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, God knows how many countless wars that we've fought to enforce, the petrodollar. All right, it's not all bad. All right, I still love the time that I served in the Marine Corps. All right, but after, the very low rank that I was and the very limited access that I had in the Marine Corps, it opened my eyes up to a lot of how things work in this world. All right, so let's look at what we have going on today. All right, what's this right here? This is from today. All right, and you can already kind of see how people are they're thinking about these moves that Russia might be making. That Russia might be trying to go back to a gold standard and have the ruble, backed by gold. All right. This is the same thing that Saddam was looking at doing. This is the same thing that Gaddafi was looking at doing, and a major part of probably why we ended up taking them out. That and corporate greed and corrupt politicians. All right. So you can maybe kind of understand, in order to understand a lot of these geopolitical politics, maybe you understand why you have to understand money to understand why some of this stuff happens. All right. It's very, very important in order to understand that. All right. And to kind of back up some of what I was saying, we have, let's see here, what's this? Here we go. All right. If you look at the price of gold, all right, going back, let's say like 100 years, all right, 1922 to 1921. I'm sorry, 2021. All right. You can see the areas where it's affected. All right. So you can see that 1922, before all that kind of stuff, even after people were forced to, give up their gold, and forced to give it to the government and basically cheated out of their buying power when they devalued it. All right. You can see that not until you had Nixon take us off the gold standard. You can see right here, Nixon takes us off the gold standard, and this is exactly what happened. You started seeing a ramp up inflation because the only thing that was really keeping everything going was the petrodollar. All right, and you can just see it kind of start going up and going up. All right, one of the worst years of inflation, 1980. All right, a little known secret. All right, that a lot of people don't know. All right, they changed the way that they calculate inflation. All right, this is why I like to look at the price of gold when it comes to looking at a lot of this kind of stuff. All right, because a troy ounce of gold, all right, this is all based off of a troy ounce of gold. All right, that doesn't change. It's been the same since now as it was 100 years ago. All right, the only thing that's really changed is how much money is in circulation. That's what inflation is. Inflation is more dollars chasing fewer goods. All right. So you see the spike here in the 1980s, and the tool in their shed back in when that hit. All right, because every carpenter has a toolbox, right? you know, economists, you know, and the people that run this country, they got tools too. All right. You know, the Federal Reserve was established to make a flexible, you know, money supply, flexible, more stable money supply. All right. As soon as they decoupled it from gold, all right, they made it unstable. All right. So you can see this stuff has been going on for, you know, 50, 60 years, right? You can't think in a small time frame as in, oh, Bush did this, Obama did this, Trump did this, Biden did this. Biden's hitting the gas pedal and trying to fly us off the cliff, you know, maybe trying to do like some sort of Evel Knievel stunt and land us on the other side. I don't know, but, you know, this, in my opinion, not looking good, you know, but I try to give everybody their due. If he does something good, I'll tell him. If he does something bad, I'll tell him too. All right. So you can see here in the 1980s how you had the price of gold spike up. They raised interest rates. That's what the function of the interest rate is to expand and contract the money supply, so that way you can, you know, counteract the effects of inflation, or maybe try to spur, you know, put more money into supply to kind of help your economy out. All right. So we go here, we're coming along. All right. You know, then you start having the .com bubble, you know, that happened. And then you start seeing it take a very big upward spike. So this upward spike here, this trend that we're seeing here, all right, this has been going on for a long time. All right, it's been a 20-year cycle. Excuse me. It's been a 20-year cycle. All right, so you can see how this 20-year cycle is, you know, it has just been going up and up and up and up and up. All right. Oh my, where is it going up to? I wonder. Oh, like right around here. I wonder why. All right. I wonder. Do you know why? I think you know why. All right. So. It was the housing bubble, all right, and that's a whole I can make a whole episode on that, because I, you know, do have a little bit of experience as a mortgage banker, and, you know, and trust me, the movie The Big Short, you know, that's okay, but it's more in depth of that. You know, there's a lot of things they left out that, you know, blame it all on the mortgage bankers because they're the bad guys and they're just greedy, you know, and stuff like that, but. No, it was basically just a lot of government finagling and the government putting their hands into things and messing everything up. You know, the government needs to keep their greedy, grubby little hands out of the markets, because all of this has been caused by government, you know, intervention and government meddling. This is what has caused this. All right, nothing more, nothing less. It would have been better off if they never would have taken us off the gold. Either one, they shouldn't have taken us off the gold standard, you know, and America should have just bunkered down and taken care of our debts, or they should have never made the Federal Reserve. All right. Our country was designed to run off of tariffs and sales tax. If it was ran off of tariffs and sales tax, the poor would not be paying taxes. Everything that all your leftists want, you know, the poor shouldn't have to pay taxes. It should be graduated. Guess what? It would be graduated. You know why? Because if you wanted if you wanted a product, that's when it'd be a sales added tax, because the rich people pay for the tariffs, they make the products, and then they pass it on to the little guys. So if you wanted something, the only time that you were actually going to pay a tax on it was when, you know, you bought something. So if you just tried to, you know, try to be frugal with your spending, you paid less taxes, you know, or if you tried to grow your own food, and which is environmentally, you know, better anyway and better for you and your family, guess what? You know, you're paying less taxes because you're growing your own food. All right. It's only when we've gotten to post World War II where we see, you know, this super abundance, because Europe is decimated, and now we're flooding the world with all these products, and, you know, now we have this whole, ever since like the 1980s, we have an entire generation, which I'm included, that have been basically coddled and pacified, and we have not really wanted for anything. We might remember when we were younger, when maybe this was kind of hard or that was kind of hard, but ever since like the 90s going into 2000s, we've seen the rise of technology. Everything's getting faster, cheaper, especially with the entering of China into the World Trade Organization. It's just been a big snowball effect. All right, so we have the housing crash right here. All right, and what did they do during the housing crash? Quantitative easing. Quantitative easing was putting money into the market and they lowered interest rates down to zero to put more money into the market. That, and with their fractional reserve spending policies that put even more money into the market, that was the only thing that was keeping the market up. All right, when you print money, if there was zero stock market, all right, it was just you and I, you and the people that listen to this podcast, all right, and then I printed the first dollar and you spent it, that wherever you spent it, that market would go up based off that first dollar. All right, and I print more, then wherever that would go up. So if there was no printing, it wouldn't go up. It's not like they're using, because it's based off of nothing. It's not like you have gold and you're going in there and giving these people gold. It's based off of nothing. They're printing these dollars, and we're using slave labor from China to buy all the stuff that we have to provide for our very padded, cushy American butts. All right, I love my country. I love what it is, and I love the freedoms that we have here. But we've had so much for so long that it has allowed us to become complacent. It has allowed us to become just ignorant to the fact of how the rest of the world works. All right. So, I mean, and look, I'm no different. I have my computers and I got my smartphone, probably made by somebody over in China who jumped off of a building and, hopefully landed in a net. I am a hypocrite, because, but if there was an American product, I do try to buy American. I try very hard to buy American, but our businesses, with NAFTA, the World Trade Organization, they have, exported all these businesses to these other countries, for the sake of the almighty dollar, for a profit line. All right. And hey, I like to make money. Capitalism has done more to help out the world and lift people out of poverty than any other system in the world. I mean, hands down. Is it perfect? No, it is not. All right. But you have people that want to complain about a wage gap, and about a wealth gap. All right. What do you think happens when you print a bunch of money and then you have people that spend it in an economy where we make nothing, or at least very little? The people that make it, so all that money that is going to go to iPhones, Samsung, Disney, all these big corporations, because we're addicted to the products that they sell us. All right. So, and you know what? They don't really give us an incentive to save. They strive for a 2% inflation every year. They strive for that because there's less of an incentive for you to save, for you to save. And you know what? And they want you to put your money in a stock market. All right. So that way, what happens when the stock market crashes? Like, sorry, what do you think happens when there's like very extremely low interest rates? That means there's very little incentive to save. Anytime there's 2% inflation, and if your savings account isn't getting 2% or better, or don't have, some sort of bond, mutual fund, stock, or whatever that is going to beat that 2%, and now it's even worse. You're looking, well, they're saying just around 8%, but that number is not true. That is a fake number. This is a number that it's completely fake, because after the 80s, this little period right over here, all right, they said, wow, this looks bad. We got to find a way to make us look better. So in the 80s, they decided to tweak how they judge inflation to make their numbers look better. You know, this is what's his Steve, whatever the hell his name is, but or I'm sorry, John Oliver. You know, the dingo, you know, guarding the baby. You know, you can't have a dingo guard the baby. You know, the dingo's gonna eat the baby. All right. You know, so they changed the numbers to make them look better. They changed the way they calculated to make so that their numbers didn't look, you know, so that their numbers didn't look bad. All right. That's basically what they did. All right. Let's see here. Right here. All right. The CPI chart on the homepage reflects our estimate of inflation for today as if we were calculated the same way as it was in 1990. The CPI on the Alternative Data Series tab here reflects the CPI as if it were calculated using the methodologies in place in 1980. In general terms, methodology shifts in government reporting have depressed reporting inflation, moving the concept of the CPI away from being a measure of the cost of living needed to maintain a constant standard of living. All right. Excuse me. All right. So you can see here, you know, official versus shadow stats. All right. And they have the documents to back this up. You know, this is all stuff that is very well documented. All right. Is just that, you know, when you have, we had the information age, you know, and before all this stuff was just left for the, you know, the elites, you know, the people went to Harvard and to Yale and all these other places. This is this is a good thing for society, but a bad thing for the elites, because we can actually fact check them in real time. You know, everybody, I like to see those memes where it's like, you know, oh, look at today, everybody who was a, you know, a infectious disease expert is now a, you know, a war expert or a Ukrainian expert. All right. You know, to a certain extent, yeah, it's kind of funny to kind of see that. But yeah, you know what? This is the information age. You know, a reasonably intelligent person can read some information as far as the geopolitical atmosphere for the last 20 years and find this information online and make an educated opinion. You know, it's no longer coveted by the people that are the talking heads on, you know, the TV screen. And now we can see the lies that they're telling us. They've always been lying to us. You know, it's just that we weren't able to fact check it in real time. I mean, simple as that. All right. And I will be making a video about some of the lies that these people are doing, so that way you can see me in real time. Well, not real time because I'm recording this, but you know, I will eventually get to a time in this podcast that I will be able to do some live streams, take some questions, you know, and hey, if I am wrong, if you think that I am wrong, prove me wrong. I will change my mind. If you prove me wrong, I will admit that I am wrong and I will change my mind. Because if I can't, and doesn't mean I'm not going to argue about it. I mean, shoot, I love to argue. You know, that's one of the things I do love to do. You know, sit here, talk, have a good conversation. Let's have it back and forth. Let's, you know, be civil about it. But hey, you know what? If you can prove me wrong, hey, you know what? I'll admit it. Hands down. I will definitely admit it. All right. So, what we got here? So amidst everything that's going on, all right, we also have, you know, Biden. We have Russia stopped exporting a type of fertilizer, ammonium nitrate, all right, which officials there said was to protect its farmers from already high costs. But this latest move comes from Russian threats of retaliation over Western sanctions. all right, we get a significant portion of our fertilizers and stuff from Russia and over in that area. We get a significant portion of our wheat from over in that area and Ukraine. All right. I was reading a report saying about 15% of all calories in the world comes from that region of Russia and Ukraine. All right. A good portion of our fertilizers come from that region in Russia and Ukraine. All right. I mean, this isn't just some BS stuff. All right. I mean, we're looking at some pretty heavy stuff that's possibly going on. You know, I mean, if you haven't gotten ready or haven't tried to at least you don't need to hoard. All right. You know, you don't have to buy 3-year supply of toilet paper so that, you know, for the slight possibility you might be the last person to wipe your butt on this planet. All right. Because I'm telling you what, you can't eat toilet paper. All right. Simple as that. All right. But, you know, having a like a couple weeks or a month supply. All right. And, you know, not to kind of pat myself on the back. All right. But, you know, since like 2008, when I started kind of looking into this kind of stuff, because 2008 really kind of scared me as far as my future for me and my family. I mean, I looked into this kind of stuff. I'm not some nut. I'm not some nut job prepper where it's like, I gotta have my guns and I'm gonna, you know, get my fallout shelter and I'm gonna, you know, whatever. All right. No, it goes back to the Marine Corps. You know, it's something that all my good leaders said. You hope for the best, but you plan for the worst. All right. It's just smart. You know, it's smart for family planning. You hope for the best, you plan for the worst. All right. Because when it comes to food, especially when it like beans, oats, rice, all right, you know, maybe a little bit of extra toilet paper, all right, you buy it. If something bad happens, you have it, you know, and you get to eat and wipe your butt, all right. But if nothing happens, guess what? You have some extra food, it'll have to be eaten up, and you go on with your life, all right. But which one's worse? You know, that you don't prepare, you don't think about this kind of stuff, and then something happens, and then it's like, oh, what do I do? Oh no, oh, all right. That's not a good plan, all right. You know, and at the same time, what your plan is can be slightly different based on, you know, your situation in life, all right. Because I tell you what, maybe if you have $50,000 in the bank. All right, maybe if you have $50,000 at the bank, maybe, you know, you want to go out and buy some gold and silver and stuff like that. But you know what? If you don't, and you're like 65% of Americans where you're living paycheck to paycheck, you know, maybe that's not the smart thing to do, because you know what? You can't eat gold. You just can't. You know, maybe you do save a little bit of that money, even though it's going to lose a little bit it's going to lose some value. But you have to be able to have that money to spend in order to put food on the table. Maybe you go out and buy those tools today that you think you might need because the prices are going to go up. You know, maybe that refrigerator is getting ready to go out and you know it. You know, maybe you buy that refrigerator now instead of waiting because you know the prices are going to go up. You know, I fortunately have, you know, I've made many sacrifices. My wife and I have made many sacrifices to provide our kids with a good environment, you know, so that way she can stay at home. You know, we sacrificed vacations, we sacrificed all the fancy stuff, and I worked really hard, you know, and now I got, you know, a little bit that I think I can count on. You know, I got some sheep, you know, and I have chickens, you know, and I have a garden that, you know, that I love to work in, but I can't do a lot of that right now because I hurt my back. I really can't go into too much detail about that, but it's something I wouldn't wish on anybody, you know. But I definitely think that with the way things are going, and trust me, Biden has definitely made some humongous mistakes, and I think has definitely accelerated the process, because I expected a lot of this stuff to happen, but he has definitely hit the gas pedal on a lot of this stuff. And I think, but I can't sit there and blame it all on him. Trump had some stuff to do with it. Obama had a lot of stuff to do with it. And all these idiots going back, 50, 60, 70 years had just as much to do with it, because of the policies that were set forth back in those times still affect us today. All right. Let's see here. What else do I got? Oh, yeah. Food shortages. Gonna be real. Gonna be real. Our very articulate and witty president. Yeah, these food shortages. You know what? I just really hope, that's the reason why I'm doing this kind of stuff, is because I want to see people make by. I want to see people do well in their life. I've always liked to have conversations with people. I've always liked to see people do well in their life. I want you to do well. I want my family to do well. If you do well, our country does well. All right? And I'm sorry, I really don't care what side you are on politically. I want to have a reasonable conversation, and you should want to have that too, That's just the kind of person that I am. I want to have these conversations, and I want to try to find some common ground, so that way we can go forward together and try to figure things out. All right. I think that's a good ending point. Thanks for tuning in to myself, Mike Rabble at Rabble Rouser Media. Please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, and I look forward to seeing you again. All right. Have a nice night.